So I had you on the phone, and I've got a few topics, and I want to know what you want to start with, or if you want to do any of them. Okay, can I give them to you, and you
Okay.
tell me what you think?
Yeah.
The first, I'm going to give you the three topics, and you tell me which one you want to do. The first one is, why are you the way that you are? The second one is Nisargadatta, and I have a quote. And the third one is J. Krishnamurti with another quote. I've got two quotes I want to talk about, and then I also want to talk about why you are the way you are.
Let's hear the Nisargadatta quote. I haven't thought about that guy in a while, and I don't have any strong opinions about him like I do Jiddu.
Perfect. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull them up real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just give a quick introduction to who Nisargadatta Maharaj is, and this is great because it's on the website here. So if you're watching, you can just read it. But he was an Indian guru of non-dualism, and he's from a lineage of teachers. He was born in April 17th, 1897, and he died September 8th, 1981. And what he used to do was he had a shop, and he would sit in his house on top of the shop, and he would just talk, and people would visit him, and he would just talk about the nature of reality or the nature of being, or he would be doing Dharma or truth talks. That's pretty much, and he smoked a lot. He was a very heavy smoker. Am I missing anything, Reed?
I was gonna say that he didn't strike me as I never got the impression that he was like a non-dualist or something like that. One of the things I liked about his teaching, his book, I Am That in particular, is that I never got a sense of an angle or a particular tradition or lineage. It felt very original, and it didn't feel like it didn't fit into any category I had. Although it was, similar to what other people were saying, of course, but yeah, it didn't strike me as he was teaching anything. I'm not even sure what he was teaching. Maybe that means he was a good teacher, a good guru, because I couldn't tell you what he taught at all. But I read that whole book. It's a giant book.
Yeah, the one thing got you brought to mind was, and he says this in the book. He says it a few times, but he had a guru, and the guru told him he basically said, what you need to do is you just need to rest as the I am. Just the only real practice is resting as I am. And if you can do that, you'll attain enlightenment. And so Nisargadatta did what his guru told him to do, and he just started practicing resting as I am, and he had his awakening experience, like a year and a half or 2 years later, and that's straight from the book.
Over 3 years later.
Was it 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he says in the book. He says, I just followed my guru's directions, and I realized the self, the capital S self, the being that pervades all. Yeah, so I got the same kind of gist as you, Reed. I kind of felt like the book was very unique, and it was just him embodying the unknowable, unseen, and answering people's questions with the truth, or just truth. So the quote that we got here that I want us to talk about. So this is one of the questions that Nisargadatta got, and the entire book, I Am That, it's basically just questions and answers. People are approaching him, asking questions, and it's just a transcript of his responses. And one of the questions was, how do you look at the world? You got to remember, just to put this into context, this is an old Indian guy, completely normal looking, sitting in a totally normal space, chain smoking cigarettes. Like, he's just completely, sometimes he's wearing a shirt, sometimes he's not wearing a shirt. He's broed out, burning darts all day long, and just answering people's questions. So just to put it into context, this isn't like it doesn't feel like you're entering the space of some ultimate enlightened being. He looks and...
No, and it's It's a small room too, and it's super hot, and it's
Yes.
packed with people.
Yes. There's actually a YouTube video you can watch. You can go be in the room on the
Yeah,
video.
there's one really good video out there that I've seen a few times. I'd recommend that for. I don't know if we have a link to it, but I feel like it sums everything up.
So the question is, as he's approached, the question is, how do you look at the world? And Nisargadatta says, I see a painter painting a picture. The picture I call the world. The painter I call God. I am neither. I do not create, nor am I created. I contain all. Nothing contains me. What do you take from that when you read that? Read.
I guess I remember a little bit more about him now, because
tradesman.
his writing, or just reading that book that's from, I was kind of had a certain effect, and I feel it now. It's very what stands out to me is that he doesn't insert himself into the story anywhere. Like he's not the world, and he's not God. And I feel like that's it kind of makes, I kind of pause because somehow it like breaks off or like veers away from what I feel like I hear most non-dual or Advaita with this kind of general area teachers talking about. My reaction is silence. It reminds me of nothing, if nothing was something.
Do you see the mechanics of this when he says, I see a painter painting a picture, the picture I call the world, the painter I call God? Can you see that?
Like, do I see it that way? Can I see in action what he's talking about?
Yes.
No, because I'm trying to like read what he's saying and like think about that and like apply that to what I'm seeing, and I don't think I can do that. Would I describe things that way? No, not necessarily. I don't know if I'd use those words. I don't know. Like I said, my reaction is nothing. It's like literally nothing. And to like move forward into describing or thinking about it, I feel like I've lost what he's communicating if I do that.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, the best stuff when you read it. Like that's how I felt when I read it. Was it like it quieted my mind?
Yeah.
And yeah, it just brought me into a space of being or just nothingness or isness. But the way I picture what he's describing here when he says, I see a painter painting a picture, the picture I call the world, and the painter I call God. It's funny. I'm having different thoughts about it now. Different thoughts than I just had before when I asked you that question. The thoughts I'm having now are completely different than what they just were. At first, it was I saw that God itself is everything that's occurring, everything that's happening on its own, and life expressing itself and living itself through you and through me and through everything around us. And that is the painter. And then the painting is the objective world or objective reality: birds, trees, moons, stars, skies, people, emotions, thoughts, everything that could be considered an object in the field of experience. And then he says, I am neither. So he says, I am neither of those things. I do not create, nor am I created. I contain all. Nothing contains me. So it seems like he's referring to the Tao. He is the unknowable, unseen nothingness. So there is nothing.
What I find interesting is that he indicates a world and God, indicates two things existent at least. Because the straight negation of everything, I think, kind of wears thin after a while.
It doesn't
literally hearing something say it.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. It needs to be a paradox. You can't negate anything. It's almost like a math equation.
Yeah, so I was gonna say in the past, like when I've read this kind of stuff, or like really my past approach to all this kind of stuff in general was to read stuff like this, let it kind of take me to the space it was going to take me, and then really move on. But I'm actually interested now in what would happen if I went a little further and actually made an effort to like actually grasp, maybe, I don't know, at a conceptual level or an intellectual level what he's saying. Like you said, it's an equation. Like actually go further and unpack it, um, and see if there's not something deeper available than rather than just. I mean, I feel like my wordless reaction is deep on its own, but like, um, in a way, is that almost superficial? And that's something to be moved past, and can paradoxically use the mind to open it up some. But that would be a new approach or a new method for me that I generally haven't tried.
What would you do if you were to do it right now? How would that, would it be doing what I just described?
Um,
Like looking at the mechanics of what he's saying? And
yeah,
then,
I mean, it would probably look like a specific meditation where I'd sit with that quote, and read it a bunch and see if I could actually understand what he's saying rather than resting on my reaction to what he's saying.
right. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. That's actually very interesting. If you were to try to, you would try to see through his eyes, basically.
Yeah, try to, yeah. So like saying this out loud, like I see like when I put it that way, yeah, it's like with a lot of the stuff, for me, I've rested with my reaction to it. And then like as if I like received something or took something from it and then went my way. But maybe that's a smokescreen.
So let's go into this next one because I think this is a good one to kind of move forward with that thought because this one's from Jiddu Krishnamurti, and there's a lot. He's describing the way in which he sees or the. It's a weird thing reading Krishnamurti or reading anybody really, because I see all people as thought forms. Like whatever a person is to me is just is just like a thought, but they're built upon. It's like the tip of an iceberg, and the more that they um, explicate the way in which they perceive things, the more you can understand about who or what they are as a unique expression or as a living entity. So anyway, this is Jiddu. So basically, quick summation of his life story. He basically was like meditating on a stoop somewhere, and then somebody was like, you're the next Christ." And and members of this group called the Theosophical Society just like took him from the stoop and was like, "You're the chosen one." And then when he became 21 years old, he was like, "Whatever it is that you want me to teach people can't be taught, and the way in which you're treating me is doing harm to the experience of truth, that it can't be spoken or taught or anything." So he left that situation. Is that about right? Did I sum that up pretty well?
Yeah, he wasn't meditating. He was like playing by the river or something. And then one of the leaders of the Theosophical Society found him because they were literally looking for the world teacher, which they were going to groom into existence. Um, and then he rejected all that and promptly became the world teacher. Um, so like, ironically, he is literally the product of conditioning.
Wow, I never looked at it that way.
It's really odd. Yeah.
It's very
He was
odd.
literally groomed to be what he became, but he's like broke the shackles and they couldn't control the monster they'd created or whatever. But yeah, it's a really odd story. I recommend reading is some kind of biography.
Dude,
I
that's
mean,
wild. I need to
it's
read that.
wild.
I never looked at it that way
No,
because it is true. If he was taken as a kid and they were conditioning him to be the new world leader, he learned all this stuff.
and they were teaching him these meditation and astral projection technique. They would astrally project from different. Him and Annie Besant and Charles Ledbetter would um, have like meetings. They would be in different parts of the world and they'd astrally project to meet. or at least that was the claim. But his story blends or blurs the lines between there's like spirituality, but then there's like supernatural, and there's like magic and stuff, and like it's weird. It's weird. And then he tries to throw all that away, and we just know him as this guru, but like his background is uh there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes. Like it's weird.
And the version of him that I know very well is just his philosophical musings. I've read a couple of his books, and I've listened to his talks, and I just he's got a pretty strong philosophy. Bruce Lee really um, melded with it a good bit, because Bruce Lee with his Jeet Kune Do is the style of no style, that every person, it's their responsibility if they're interested in realizing or actualizing the highest form of themselves. You have to drop all of your ideas, all of your characterizations that you carry around of yourself, to be something new, or to exist, or to yeah, be something new. And that's kind of Krishnamurti's philosophy: is you shouldn't listen to anyone, as he's talking to people and they're listening to him.
Yeah.
So this is the talk, and this is the quote that I gathered, and I think it connects with what we were talking about in Nisargadatta. It says, "We think we are free when we choose, but we are not, are we? Where there is choice, there is no freedom, because that very choice springs from our conditioned state. We think we have a will of our own, and we exercise that will through our choice. If you observe, so if you watch yourself, if you watch inside out, you will see that will is the outcome of innumerable desires, of many forms of frustrations, fears, and these frustrations, fears, desires are the outcome of our conditioning, our background. So when we choose, we are never free. So the things that I like, the things that I'm attracted to, all a result of the conditioning of my environment and the people around me that helped bring me into existence. Choice in itself indicates the lack of freedom. A man who is really free has no choice. He is free not to do this or that, but to be. As long as we have choice, we are really not free, and we are not really individuals." So to put that in perspective, it's basically when the appearance of a choice arises in your consciousness, that is all arising from a conditioned state, and I'm limited by the limits of my own mind. So like if I say, think of an NFL player, whatever your brain decides to tell you of an NFL player is what you're limited by thinking about. So there really is no freedom there. And what he's pointing to is the freedom of being itself, the being of having no choice and seeing all actions, all expressions of whatever this is, arise as spontaneous creativity or unknowing. That would be that would be a space of choiceless awareness, which I think is his term. So yeah, take it away, Reed. What do you think?
I'm thinking about the when he says choice indicates a lack of freedom. Um, and I'm wondering if really when we appear to have a choice, it's competing belief systems within us that are appearing. Because really, we should always know what we want to do, shouldn't we? But if we're not sure, we've got different voices telling us different things. I don't know if that's exactly what he was talking about, but that's one of the. I've just been looking at this question a lot in my life. I mean, I really like what he was just saying here. I've been uh, I read all his books and watched all his talks, and then threw them all away. Um, but really, this past month, I've been actually looking at the action of conditioning and the effect of belief systems in my life. Um, And man, I don't have anything new to add. He says it all right there. Like if you look, it's not hard to it's it's not hard to see, but it might be uncomfortable to see that the things that you take to be yourself are essentially patterns implanted by other people, um, or quirks of the body, um, mental patterns that you picked up, that the things you like and feel are you, is maybe something you saw an authority you admired doing as a child and began to imitate them. Um, at least when I look, I don't find anything unique to myself that wasn't picked up from either observing it in others or being taught by others. Um, and so then, I don't know if you keep following that. It's the question is, what am I then? What's actually mine? If everything I do is essentially some kind of conditioned response, where am I and all that? Um,
Have you found it?
no, there's nothing there.
That's exactly what Nisargadatta is pointing
Yeah,
to. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, to me, it's like I can't stand mayonnaise. Like I hate eating mayonnaise. I have no idea why that is the way it is, but it's not something that I chose. I don't like. I love Pink Floyd's Animals. I love that record. My aunt gave it to me. Like I didn't choose for her to give it to me. I didn't choose whether or not I would like it. These things are all happening. There really is. So if I think what you said was, which I think was interesting. You said, shouldn't we automatically be doing what we want? But a lot of times we don't know what we want. There's like conflicting beliefs.
yeah. It shouldn't be a question of what we want to do. Like, we can't just, if what we want to do is, um, well, I don't know if what we wanted to do is
Well, this connects to
against
the
the law or
whole. This
something,
connects to the
shouldn't
God
do.
stuff, and third step stuff, and what I've experienced in my own life. I've experienced that my thinking and my thinking doesn't actually know what it wants. That when I've turned my will and my life over to something that is not my thoughts, that I've learned how to trust something beyond my limited mind. What I've actually wanted has materialized, and I didn't see it coming. I didn't know that this is what I wanted.
Yeah, well, the mind didn't know
The mind, exactly. The mind didn't know.
because it is a belief. It's all belief systems. It's competing belief systems. Um, and that's the conflict I've been looking at is how we'll have a belief system that says you need to act a certain way and a belief system that says you shouldn't act that way. And then you can't simply choose one or the other. You can't control what belief systems are active and what they're causing you to feel. So you can't actually resolve the difference between the competing conditioning within yourself. So that's just suffering. I think that's the one of the roots of suffering is that we're told by different people you have to be these ways that contradict each other. You have like a religious training, or then maybe you had a teacher that taught you something different. Um, I don't know, which one are you supposed to be? And I guess the mistake is that I think I'm either one of those sides of the argument in the first place, or that I'm supposed to be anything that I can know and choose. But my my criteria for eliminating something as a conditioned belief or not is essentially like, is this automatically occur? Did this thought just come up on its own automatically? Does this feeling occur on its own automatically? The answer is yes to all that. It's just something happening on its own without my input or choice. So like there's not a choice in the first place because we think we're making these choices, what I'm feeling or thinking or doing, but this is just stuff arising automatically, and I've attached like after the fact, I've come in and I'm concocting this story in real time that I'm the one feeling this way. I'm the one choosing this thing right now. I'm the one thinking this right now. And no, it was already happening automatically. But then something comes in right away and says, I'm the one doing that. But once that, you can see that that's not true. Once you say, no, that was there automatically already, it falls away. Well, that's not me then. It's like seeing a leaf blow by. Well, that's not me. But then if you saw a leaf blow by and then you had the neurotic thought, I'm making the leaf blow by, then somehow that leaves you or something. That's what we're doing. But it's tricky because it's thoughts in our head. We think we own them for some reason.
So where do you stand on personhood? Like you recognize in the relative world, as I move and have a life, there's an atom that's required, right? There's a reed, but you just seem to describe there really is no person that you can know within yourself.
So the person I know within myself is different from the person that's moving around in the world and is visible and interacts with other people. You can very clearly from a distance make out a human body with certain qualities, with a certain lifestyle, with possessions, with tendencies, habits. You can definitely build a person. But for me on the inside, that's what you see from the outside. That's what other people see. From that further back perspective, you see this whole life, and it seems like there's this core central entity to it. Great, but for me, for us, on the inside, I don't see a core. I see these external circumstances and reactions and responses to the environment. And these reactions themselves were formed by previous environments. But on the inside, I don't find a solid, cohesive anything. Douglas Harding, I guess, this sounds a lot like him right now. But he was really good about that. Like from the outside, from someone else's perspective, you absolutely are a person. But from your perspective, there's nothing to be found. Or does there need to be?
So while you're talking right now, do you have a sense of me? Like a sense of me as in me, Reed?
The sense of me a is a contraction that has to do with the thought of it's like a protective contraction. I'd say that's it. That's all it is. There's a sense of me. It's a protective contraction. It's almost like a feeling of tightness.
But these descriptions and these
But like
words are occurring or arising from nowhere?
they're they're arising from here, but here is all there is.
Is your
I
is your here the same as my here?
That's a good question. As far as I will ever know, this is the only here I will ever know. I will never know anything outside this, and that's all.
So
This is what's real.
this is what's really fascinating about this, because right now neither you or I are being eaten by a tiger, and we're in this conversation, and it feels like that whatever's happening seems to be happening on its own, expressing itself through your thoughts and my thoughts. That I can't find me right now. I'm kind of in a flow state, I guess you could call it, or like kind of like when you're skating or when you're I don't know, when you're doing something, you're drawing, you're just not there. Like things are just getting created.
What about the tiger?
Well, the moment that you start getting eaten by a tiger, your here will be different than my here or this here. Like whatever this here is that we're speaking from would disappear the moment you started getting eaten by a tiger, because your meanness would become extremely contracted, like you just described. It would overpower the awareness.
The here is the same. I mean the forms and shapes moving and endlessly changing within the here are whatever. I mean, be it the shape of a tiger or a keyboard on my desk. The here isn't affected by anything within it. A contraction of self can appear, and then I'll be like, damn, I should have taken being a person more seriously and defended myself. So yeah, together there's some kind of moment happening, I guess, but all I'll ever know is here. And what's happening here, if there's some greater reality between us in which everything's happening, I can't know it.
No, I mean, but anybody listening, anybody watching right now is in the same here or the same now.
Yeah, and we know it's the same here because this, capital T, this, which is also what I find when I look for me, because it's both formless and shapeless. It sounds like Paul Hederman. Can two shapeless, formless things without location be considered distinct? And by what standard would you say my here is different from your here?
Yeah, I'm with you.
My here, the thisness, which is also my I-ness, and they're the same because simply they're both without form or boundaries.
Yeah, and that's what this is. And I guess you could call it consciousness, awareness. You could call it here. You could call it now.
Doesn't answer the question of, if we are this pervasive oneness consciousness, why does there seem to be a location specific knowledge, such as you don't know my thoughts and I don't know yours?
Because of the conditioned state, like Krishnamurti's talking about. Because my conditioned state is limited. The thoughts that I experience and that the thoughts, beliefs, and the proclivities that are carried in this body mind are unique to the conditioning out of which it has been born or through which it's been born. So, like, you wouldn't need to know the thoughts are irrelevant. Like, why can't I know your thoughts? It's because they're not real. There are no, like, you can say that there's thinking, but whose are they? And I mean, it's like saying, why can't I see the leaves in your yard? It's all of the sense perceptions, but who we really are is beyond the sense perceptions.
Yeah, I guess the mistake on, I think it's an interesting question, but it's really born out of simply responding to what the popular non-dualists these days always claim. They make the bold assertion that we're made of the same, or we are the same, like shared consciousness or something. But whatever that means.
I see it kind of like awareness or consciousness is the backbone of everything that is expressing itself, arising and moving and being in all time and space and existence. That who we really are, this awareness, this unknowable, or how does he describe it here? Whatever Nisargadatta is saying right here is what we are, and it is the foundation, capital R, reality, out of which all material is being painted at all times.
That's not what he's saying.
What's he saying?
There's the picture and then there's the painter. He's not related to either.
Yes.
He's not created. He does not create, nor is anything created from him. I contain all. Nothing contains me.
That's awareness. That's what we're talking about. That's the consciousness, awareness. That's the backbone out of which all expresses.
I contain all except for your current experience.
No, there is no current. This is like it's like trying to look for the back of your own eyes. Like, can you see the back of your own eyes right now? It's impossible. That's what we really are, and I think that's what he's pointing to right here. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Want to play some games?
Yeah.